Today we celebrate the feast of the dedication of the Lateran Basilica in Rome, which is the cathedral church of the Bishop of Rome, our Holy Father, and the mother and head of all the churches in the world. Now, at first glance, it might seem strange that we celebrate the anniversary of a church building. But the Lateran Basilica is much more than bricks and mortar. It's a sign of something profound in the life of the church, a turning point in history when Christianity could finally be lived publicly without fear of legal persecution. See, when the Lateran Basilica was dedicated in the 4th century, the long years of persecution were over. The Edict of Milan, signed by the Emperor Constantine, had made it legal to practice the Christian faith openly. And therefore, the church was no longer confined to secret gatherings or catacombs. She could now proclaim Christ in the heart of society itself. And then began the long and arduous realization of how difficult sometimes it is to maintain buildings. But just think about that. But what's most remarkable is how the church got there. See, the faith did not win acceptance through power or political maneuvering. It spread through the quiet, steady witness of believers, ordinary men and women who lived the gospel with courage and love, inviting one soul at a time to encounter and to be transformed by the living God. You see, the church transformed the culture not by demanding new laws, but by converting hearts. See, the Lateran Basilica stands as a reminder that the gospel changes the world from the inside out. And in our own time, that's an important lesson to remember. We live in an age when many voices urge the church to wield political influence more forcefully, to win the culture back through legislation, campaigns, or public debates or demonstrations. And while the church must never withdraw from the public square, we must also remember the wisdom of today's feast. Christ is more concerned with the conversion of souls than the passing of laws. Public policy changes only last when hearts are changed first. The transformation of the Roman Empire began not in the emperor's palace, but in the catacombs. And the quiet faith of Christians who loved their neighbors, who cared for the poor, and forgave their persecutors. And so if we as Catholics become more concerned with the care and the conversion of souls, with helping one another encounter Jesus Christ, the policies and priorities of our society will inevitably change as a result. The gospel has always shaped history, but it does so by first shaping hearts. And the readings today point us toward the same truth. The prophet Ezekiel describes a river of life flowing from the temple, a symbol of God's grace pouring into the world. And wherever that water flows, life springs up. That's what happens when the church, the living temple of God, shares his love and mercy. Life flourishes not through force, but through grace. In St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, we're told, you are God's building. You are the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwells in you. The true temple is not a building of stone, but the community of believers. And so each of us, by baptism, is called to be a dwelling place for God's Spirit, to make him visible in the world. And in the gospel, Jesus speaks of the temple of his body destroyed and raised in 3 days. He himself is the new and eternal temple. And so every time we live in communion with him, his presence shines through us. And that brings us to this particular Sunday, which it brings to a conclusion. This is the end of National Vocation Awareness Week. This past week, especially in the U.S., there's been something that bringing to our mind, and so it's an invitation for us to think that every vocation, whether it's celibacy lived out through the priesthood, religious life, or the single life, or married life, every vocation is a way of building up the living church, the body of Christ. Every vocation is a way God pours his life into the world. And so the Lateran Basilica, as the mother church of all churches, reminds us that the true measure of the church's strength is not in her public influence, but in her holiness, in her saints. When men and women live their vocation with fidelity, joy, and compassion, the church grows and the world changes. So yes, we must care deeply about the moral and social issues of our time, but today's feast reminds us where real renewal begins. The church changed the heart of the Roman world, not through protests, but through prayer. Not through strategy, but through sanctity. The same is true today. And so our task is not to conquer the world, but to convert it, beginning with our own hearts. So as we celebrate this feast, let's ask, is my life a place where Christ truly dwells? Do I allow his grace to flow through me into my family, into my work, into my community? Am I more concerned with winning arguments or with winning souls? The Lateran Basilica still stands after 1,700 years, not because of its stones, but because of the living faith it represents, the faith of people who made Christ visible in their time. May this feast renew in us that same dedication to live our vocations with love, to make the church visible in the world, and to bring Christ's transforming grace to every soul we meet. If we do that, if we tend first to the conversion of hearts, then, as history shows, the rest will follow.